Now, Lesley and I are all about encouraging you one step at a time to declutter and organize your home. But sometimes it seems an unsurmountable task, and there are options. If you've hit a roadblock, hiring a professional organizer might be some of the best money you've ever spent. But you still need to make sure you're getting the right person for the job. Today, we're talking about the 10 things you need to look out for when hiring a professional organizer in your home.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Lesley Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Lesley.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find here is reality, empathy, and advice by the bucket load. And if you've been here for a while, thanks so much for listening.
If you'd like the added bonus of watching us as well as listening, you might want to find our podcast on our YouTube channel. Search for the Declutter Hub and you can see us chat each and every week. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so it pops into your notifications each Friday too.
Well, Lesley, I am excited about this episode because we can talk about being a professional organizer, which is like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And the funny thing is, I was telling recently, I think on a Facebook Live, that my friend Saskia was visiting from the Netherlands. And she said, Ingrid, what do you do? And tell me a little bit about it. And how is your membership going and your podcast? So I kind of went, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, wow, do you do anything else than decluttering and organizing? And I went, no, I just totally love it.
Now, Ingrid, when you say it's the favorite thing in your life, being a professional organizer, more important than being a mum or friend?
No, of course not. No, of course not. Being a partner, a mom, a good friend, a good sister, of course. But I mean, let's be real here, Lesley. We work a lot. So it's a good thing. We do love it.
It is, yeah. And the interesting thing is as well, we've got two hats on, right? So everybody who's listening to this really knows us from trying to encourage you guys to do this yourselves. And so we are very much at the Declutter Hub about explaining how you can do this yourselves without the help of a professional organizer. But I think it's fair to say, and we come across this often within our membership, within the podcast, within the Facebook group, of people where we think, do you know what, it would be a really good time for them to just get that little bit of help. Because sometimes you just get a little bit stuck or it's a little bit too overwhelming and you could move that project forward really well with the help of a professional organizer. Now, it might be that you don't want to do it on your own and you just want to use a professional organizer for everything, which is perfect if you've got funds to do it. But many people don't have the funds to do that. And that's why we have the Declutter Hub. But today we're talking about if you are going to invest in a professional organizer, it needs to be the right person at the right time in the right place with the right idea, the right fit for you. So there's loads of things that we're going to talk about today that are going to encourage you to think about what that looks like. Because I think it's fair to say, Ingrid, people are like, what is a professional organizer and what do they do? Are they just going to come and chuck all my stuff away for me? So you know that ultimately the goal is to get rid of clutter, but what you don't understand is the process that's going to lead to that. We're here to put your mind at rest and to say that it will be a positive process for most people if you've got the right person. And we're going to talk about the kinds of things that you need to look for to make sure that happens, because we feel very passionate about it, right? Yeah. We've done this for 13 years. And, of course, we believe that we and our teams, because we've both got teams now because we're working on the Declutter Hub a lot, we're not doing as much one-to-one work as we used to do. And so even, when we're hiring a professional organizer for our teams, we're looking for these things as well to make sure that we get the right fit that are going to represent us as the Clutter Fairy, which is my business, and Organise Your House, which is Ingrid's business. And by the way, if you are in the northwest of England or southeast London, come and find us because we've got these fantastic teams of people. But that aside, what should somebody be looking for? Ingrid, number one, and I think this is absolutely number one. And we are doing 10 things, right? We didn't say that.
I know, we haven't even told everybody. This is a 10 Things podcast, which is also, I think, one of our favorite podcasts to do. So it's like a double whammy of all goodness coming your way. But agreed. For me, I mean, there are definitely things you need to look out for when you're hiring a professional organizer. And the first one is this, and it sounds a bit crazy, Lesley, but do you like this person? Have you got a good feeling about this person when you see their website, when you've got them on the phone? Do you trust them? Do you feel like, yeah, this sounds like somebody I could work with?
I think the trust that you're talking about, Ingrid, it's not necessarily going to be there immediately, right? But I think it's really important that that professional organizer allows you time to build that trust. You're not going to trust somebody. You might think, oh, I quite like this person. They're quite bubbly. Yep. They sound quite a nice person. We seem quite aligned, you know, so you can think about that. But true trust has to be built and it has to be earned. And that's only going to take place in kind of communication, isn't it? So it has to be a conversation on the phone, perhaps, a WhatsApp consultation, a Zoom consultation, if that's the sensible thing to do. If you feel better about a face-to-face consultation, you really need to see somebody to get a feel for them, then that should be something that you can ask for, because you have to feel trust. Without trust, this is not going to work, right? Never. If you have not got trust in that person, it's not going to work. And it may, to be fair, that might be like, oh, I'm kind of 70% there with the trust after a consultation, but I really need to see it in action.
Yeah.
But if you're still feeling mistrustful after one session with a professional organizer, then they're not the right person for you. So trust is everything. And that needs to be, I think, a professional organizer. We're talking about what to look for when hiring a professional organizer, right? The professional organizer needs to give you an opportunity to see whether they feel that they can trust you. So it's all about that consultation and that chat and that communication. So trust is number one. And the way we're going to get that trust or work that trust out is by some kind of consultation or chat about the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to move on to number two, Lesley.
Oh, you may move on to number two. How very polite of you, Ingrid.
I want to talk a little bit about professionalism as well. Very important, in my opinion, that somebody is punctual and on time, and when they say they're going to do something, that they actually do it. And when they show up in, I don't know, like their car is not the complete tip on the inside, you know. It's all these things, you know, that they kind of present themselves well, and they, you know, they kind of look like, okay, I'm ready for you, I'm ready to take on you as a client. And they've not kind of basically run out of bed and jumped in their car and kind of went, here I am, all flustered and all of that. It needs to come across like they're a calm person.
Yeah, you have to present yourself in a professional way. We are a professional organizer, the clue's in the name. And what we're there is to create standards for you in your home. And we need to start with that idea then, you know, of being professional. And in general, people are going to be, you know, but it's not just about doing the job, it's about running the business, right? So there's two sides of things with a professional organizer that are really critical. One of them is how you do the job, so how you organize somebody's home, how you help them to declutter. The other side of it is how you run your business, and so how does the business side of things look? Because ultimately, this is a transactional, this is a professional service, and it comes from business place. So the business needs to be professional as well as you, but you are the representative, or the professional organizer is the representative of their business, and they need to demonstrate that. It's so important that you don't want to be rolling your eyes because somebody is like, well, that's not very professional when they turn up. So you need to be looking right from the start about whether your communication with them, you know, whether you're emailing, a phone call, all of those things does this strike you as professional? Super important, because there's a lot of people who will play at it. There's a lot of people who are like, well, I can tidy a drawer. Let me go and do that in somebody else's house. Not enough. That's not enough, Ingrid, is it? You know, there has to be a lot of things that come into play when it's all about being a professional organizer. So professionalism is absolutely key. And that is our number two. Number three, which is a big one for me, is communication. I mean, it's really important in so many areas in the world, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Communication is absolutely key. And so it's all about those good response times to emails and phone calls. If you are a person that has struggled with clutter, you're going to be feeling very emotional. It's not an easy phone call to make. It's not an easy leap to make to kind of go, okay, I feel like I'm ready to kind of open up my world to a complete stranger, which is effectively what that is, to go through all of my most intimate things in my home or memories or whatever that might be, or something that I've struggled with that I feel a massive connection to. That is a huge leap. And so for me as a professional organizer, right from the start, what I felt was necessary for me was to respect that leap that somebody has made. And so within that, what I mean is, if somebody, we get phone calls, texts, contact forms, emails in the middle of the night. And so somebody might be, awake in the middle of the night thinking about this and just press that button to send that email. And so what I want to do is respect that. I want to be able to respond to that in an appropriate timescale. So it's not always easy as a professional organizer, because we have holidays, we have responsibilities, we have families, we have boundaries, okay? But in general, I would like to see from a professional organizer that they are getting in contact with you fairly quickly, okay? And fairly quickly to me would be same day. And even if that same day communication is only, thank you so much, I've read your email, I'm going to get back to it when I'm back in the office on Monday, or I'm with a client at the moment and I'll respond as soon as I'm home and it's practical for me to do so. So it's like this combination of kind of knowing your own boundaries as a professional organizer, because we can't respond within 5 minutes to everything. We certainly can't respond while we're working with other clients. And so we have to wait until the end of that working day to respond. But I'm always a little bit cautious when I see something where it says I'll respond within 48 hours, because for me, I imagine if I've gone through that process where, I've sort of almost bared your soul a little bit, which a lot of people do in these initial emails or phone calls, for somebody to then kind of say, well, that's okay, but it's not important enough, I'll deal with it in 24 hours, which is kind of a standard response time. You know how disappointed we get when we see those kind of, no, we're not dealing with it immediately, you're going to have to wait, which is the kind of message effectively. So for me, I think it's all about that respect, and that's wrapped up in the communication and how that communication is done. So I think even if you can't respond in full, I think there needs to be an interim communication as a kind of holding, because that's going to be like, oh, okay, she's read it, she knows about it, and I know that on Monday it's going to move forward. I think that's so important, Ingrid, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, in the past, people would mostly only email us, but now people reach out on WhatsApp, they reach out on Messenger sometimes. I mean, for me, ideally, I get an email, because then it's very visible, because WhatsApp and Messenger, it's kind of a fleeting communication. So that's why I also put a contact form on my website, so I get an email. But I always try to respond back as well, even if, because some people, you get an email in the evening and it's just a quick email back. Thank you for email. I will get back to you tomorrow morning, or I will give you a call, or I will, so they know, and you can kind of see them go, okay, okay, fine. I know what's happening now. And then, of course, the follow through of that is really important as well. If you promise to do something, then it's important to get back to people.
Yeah, because, it is very much about your journey, and your leap of faith, which is effectively what it is, deserves the respect, doesn't it? That's what it is. And people need to communicate. And to me, that's such an important part. We've done that from day one with the business, and we continue to do that now. Even though we've got quite a big team now, the responses go out straight away. And if we can't respond, then we do say, I'm with a client at the moment, I'll get back to you later, or, back in the office on Monday, thanks so much for sharing your story, or whatever that might be. So I think it's looking out for things like that, looking out for the fact that somebody cares, really important.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Lesley, let's move on to number 4, active listening, being a good listener. I mean, that's funny, because we both love talking.
Yes.
But I think we're actually also quite good listeners with our clients. So
are you a good listener with me?
I listen to you all the time. What are you talking about?
Active listening, yeah. I don't know whether I'm quite so good with the active listening when it comes to me and you, but anyway, I'm good with the clients. But anyway, go on, Ingrid. This is yours. You talk about active listening, because I've spent way too much time talking about communication.
Well, I think it's important that you feel heard as a client. That a professional organizer doesn't only want to tell you about how it's going to work and what they're going to do and rattle the whole thing, but you also need to feel that you've been heard. about why you've reached out and why you're ready now, and what are your goals and where do you want to go to, and why is now the crucial time that you actually finally reached out. Because we know that sometimes we've been on our clients' fridges, our phone number for like 5 years, like, when I'm going to come around to this, I'm going to ring this professional organizer because I read an article of her somewhere or I saw her name pop up. So when they're ready, to make that phone call, it's really important that we listen. And not only just listen and take the information in, but actually actively listen and pick up you can pick up so much when you talk to a client and figure it out, and kind of almost, you're going to put your finger on the pulse and going to go, that's why it's important. Like, I was talking to a new client last week, and, she's struggling with health and has had a really, really tough time. And I was listening to it and going, and sympathizing with her, obviously, because she's had a lot to deal with. But then finally, in the last sentence, she said, my grandson's coming to visit later this year, and I really, really want, they're flying over from the other side of the world. And I thought, now I could have easily missed it, but she kind of slotted it in after, talking about it. And I thought, now I know what the end goal is and what time frame we've got to work with. And so important to listen well to what the client's saying.
And I think, again, that we've carried that on with the Declutter Hub, because the reason why you need to listen is because decluttering in itself, in terms of deciding, putting things into a bin bag, taking them to charity, moving things around, tidying things up on a shelf, that's the easy bit, right? It's the getting to that point that's hard. It's the emotional side of things, which is obviously everything that we teach here at the Declutter Hub. And it's the same working with a professional organizer. For most people, not for everybody, for some people it's a practical process and they want logistical, practical help to get them over the line, and they don't have any emotional ties apart from the fact that things have got a little bit out of hand, there's been a life transition or whatever. So some people it's not that deep, but for many people that hire a professional organizer, it is. And that's why we need to listen, because what we're trying to glean is what kind of emotional response will this client have to their stuff, and what do I need to be looking out for? It's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but it's but the process is kind of more irrelevant, because we know ultimately that stuff's going to get decluttered and it's going to leave the house and it's going to be quite tidy at the end of it. So the process is much less important than the how do we get there in an emotional way. And we as professional organizers are only ever going to glean that if we listen,
Yeah. Fully agree with you, Lesley. Well, I've got a suggestion. Let's go for a break. And
have you had enough of me? Have you had enough of me listening? Talking.
No,
not listening.
No, actually, no. But I want to go to a break, because after the break, I actually want to talk about the process. So let's go for a break and we'll see you after. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are doing 10 things to look for when you want to hire a professional organizer. And we've only done 4. We need to get a move on, Lesley. So let's move on to number 5. And that is all about you understanding how the process is going to work. Has your professional organizer explained this to you? Do you know what's happening?
Yeah, because it's really important for you to feel control. So again, in the Declutter Hub, what we try and teach is for people to be in control of the process or the project or whatever it is. And so it's really important for you to feel that you know what's going where, and that you have a defined kind of order in which things are going to be done and things like that. And your professional organizer also needs to have perfected their process. We have our own process here at the Declutter Hub, which we perfected, that I've used as a clutter fairy. Ingrid uses it as organise your house, and then we now use it in the Declutter Hub, and that's what we teach. But I think it's really important for you to understand what that process might be and the kinds of things that you need to look out for. How is it going to work? Where are we going to get started? Now, your idea about where to get started may be different to the professional organisers. That's why we are professionals. So we may try and say, have you thought about doing things in this way? Because that might get you a more efficient, more effective process. Because what we typically do in a home is we want to work on the communal areas first, right? Because that's what other people see. And so we might want to work in the living room. And actually what we know as professional organisers is that living rooms are quite tricky, because we need to sort of disperse the stuff from a living room to other areas in the home. And so sometimes we need to work on those other areas in the home first. And so you need to be listening to the fact whether the professional organizer, having had a look around your home, and they should look around your home for sure, if you're happy to show them in all of the rooms to be able to get a full picture of what that's going to look like. They should be suggesting things to you in terms of, I know this is where you want to start, but this is another alternative, not forcing that opinion on you, but suggesting alternatives if they feel that that's not going to be the right way to do it. So you definitely need to ascertain between yourselves where you're going to start, really important. And I think the most important thing about that process, Ingrid, is working out what pace it's going to be at. What have you got to say about pace, Ingrid?
Yeah, I think it's really important that you feel happy with the speed, because a professional organizer can work really fast, but in the end, it's your stuff. These are your items. You need to make decisions. Now, if you're, of course, going to be humming and hawing about each item for 10 minutes, the organizer might say, okay, let's talk this through, because if we're going to think about everything for 10 minutes, it's going to take a long time to get through this room or through this area. But on the other hand, if the client goes so quickly that it almost feels out of control, a professional organizer should also be able to say, I think we need to just slow down it a little bit because you're going so fast and I want you to make the right decisions. It's finding that balance, finding that right speed for you where you feel happy about everything that's being decluttered and what's being kept in your home. And I think it's also important to know, do you know when you're going to get started? What time? When is there going to be a break? Are you going to have time to eat something or have a lunch? Does your professional organizer know that you need to take medication in a certain time? So they could, it's all about that you have a good grip about what you can expect when a professional organizer shows up at your house. And that's something that needs to be explained in advance, in my opinion. So you can also, because a lot of people are nervous, especially the first time, but then they don't know. It gets easier when a professional organizer comes for the second or third or fourth time, because you kind of I know what's going to happen this morning or this afternoon. But especially that first time, it's really important that a professional organizer gives a run through of how the day is going to go.
Yes, absolutely. Really important. And I think it also, even before you get to that point, so there's some of the things that we've been talking about: active listening, we've been talking about communication. So these are all at the point that you then sort of have made a phone call and asked for a professional organizer to come to your home. But what I wanted to talk about is before you even get to that point. So really, really important for you, the window on the world for a professional organizer, as Ingrid said, it might be that you've read about something in a magazine or something like that. But for most people, they're going to come to you from a website. So a social media post will direct them to a website where they'll find out more information, and then they'll make the call from the website or send an email or on a contact form or something like that. So it needs to be, that website needs to be clear. You need to get a feel for that person from the website. They need to explain who they are as a person, what makes them tick, what their mission statement is, why they're the best person to help with you. It needs to be clear, what kind of services do they offer? So there's different things why people hire a professional organizer. It might be that you're moving house. It might be that you've got a playroom to do. It might be that you need some help with paperwork and household management. There's loads and loads of different services that a professional organizer can offer you. But the website that they present themselves to in the world needs to be really clear. Yeah, you shouldn't come away from that website thinking, not really quite sure what they do or whether this is the right person for me. So clarity on the website, authenticity on the website, and personality on the website need to be what you're looking for. Make sure there's a picture on there. There should be a picture. It should be professional going back. Make sure there's a contact form on there. Is it really clear? When they're available, how you can get in touch with them, all of those kind of things. So all the things that we've spoken about, professionalism, communication, they need to be there on that website. Then the website needs to be the right, because it's their window on the world, and it's up to a professional organizer to make sure that that website is a great representation of them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think critical. And for me, especially, a photo can do so much, that you can kind of, I don't know, you might think, oh, she looks like a nice person. I feel like I can reach out to her and talk to her about why I need help, because so many people are embarrassed about reaching out for help. So it's a big leap to make. So if you feel like, oh, she looks like a nice person, it makes it easier then to reach out to them via a contact form or by phone or email.
Yeah, I mean, one of my clutter fairies was saying the other day that she went to a client and the client had all of the stuff printed out. So they had all of our team bios on there and the photographs and had read all about them and was like, oh, I'm glad that you came because you're the one that I wanted, kind of thing. And so even within a team of people, and we're all a very different team with different skill sets, people can see what kind of person they want based on what that person presents about themselves. So it's it was interesting, and it's not the first time. You know, I've gone to a client before and they've had a picture like, oh my word, you know, expect a full size A4 picture of myself. You know what I mean? So yeah, all these things are really important, aren't they? It's all
and
about
I think
feel to somebody.
And I think as well, within our teams, we know what everybody's strengths are. So when a client reaches out to us and we've got some of our team members overlap a little bit in an area that they can cover, you can go, oh, that's going to be a great job for this person. Or, oh, they love doing toy rooms, so I'm going to give this job to that person because I know they love that task. I mean, we could all do all of the doing, but there are just other things that we kind of know that we like doing. I also want to talk a little bit about pricing, Lesley, because I think that should be clear as well when you reach out to somebody. Is there an hourly rate? Do they offer packages? Does the hourly rate start as soon as somebody knocks on your front door? Or do they come in and say hello first? Is the break being taken off the hourly rate, or is the break being expected to be included in the hourly rate? How does it work with travel time? Do they charge for travel, and how many miles are included? If somebody comes in by train, is the train ticket going to be put through on the invoice? You need to have clarity about that.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know the hours can rack up, can't they, in terms of price, and the client needs to be really clear what that is. And so it's important to work out what that price is in advance. And so some professional organisers will put their price in very clearly and transparently on their website. Others will choose not to do that, and we'll talk about that during a phone call. But either way, before you have gone into a contract with that person, then it needs to be clear what that looks like. I prefer transparent pricing because I prefer people to know what it is that they're looking at. The problem is with pricing is that even though you might understand an hourly rate as a person, what you don't understand typically is how long it's going to take. And so you can't get a full picture of how long. And even as professional organisers, we can't say that with concrete, can we? We can't because we don't know how fast you can work and how fast you can make decisions and what type of clutter might be buried underneath and what might make you stall. And so it's difficult for us to make those calls as well, isn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah, for sure. Besides pricing, Lesley, I think we need to have clarity about terms and conditions. Are there terms and conditions? What are they? Do they mention anything about cancellations, and how does that work, and what can people expect from you? So I think clarity needs to be about that, but also how far will they travel out? Are you in their area? Do they clean? Because there's still a bit of a sometimes people muddle us up that we are cleaners and not professional organisers, but I, as a professional organizer, if I empty a cupboard, I will give it a wipe. So I do clean. So I explain that when I've got a client on the phone or on a consultation, what they can expect of me, because I think it's really important that our clients know this.
Absolutely. So all those things are important to clarify from the outset. I think one other thing as well that you'll see a lot, and this is the thing that kind of scares people to death as well, is before and after pictures. Now, as a professional organizer, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship really with before and after pictures. They definitely have their place. I think they can be a really useful tool to you as an individual to spur you on for you to see progress, because we can become a little bit clutter blind, and it's good to be able to see how far we've come. So I think before and after pictures are a fantastic idea for you as an individual in any situation, so that you can see how far you've come. Now, of course, the way that we do our marketing and things like that as professional organisers, the way we use social media, is we try and show people transformations, not just to get work in, but to kind of go, look, this is the cool thing that you can do if you declutter your house. It's not always marketing, but sometimes it is. And so if your before and after pictures are taken by a professional organizer, it needs to be clear from the outset what they're going to do with those pictures. Do they have your permission to use them in social media or on websites or stuff like that? What are they going to do with them? And if you don't feel comfortable with that, you need to be given the opportunity to say that. So in our business, we put that right from the outset. We ask the question, how do you feel about that? That might change, right? We know that might change throughout the process. But if people are not comfortable with that, then it goes into the contract that we sign at the beginning. Yes, I am. Some people know that they're open, and some people don't know where they would go with that. And so most people will say, no, probably 50-50. I would say 50% of people say yes, they're happy with that. 50% of people are not. And we will gauge that as well throughout it, but it's defined right from the outset. And I think that's important as well, isn't it? You know, you don't want to be nervous. You don't want anything that's going to upset you along the way. Do you know what I mean? From what you're trying to do. That's the important thing.
Yeah. I think it really differs per client. I mean, some people are like so happy with the transformation. They're like, you go ahead and share the pictures. I'm so delighted. And, you know, they just don't mind at all. And other people are like, I'm just still feel so embarrassed about my house. I'm just not ready to share that. But what you see, exactly what you're saying, Lesley, sometimes when the client is a little bit further along the way, they suddenly start to get the pride back in their house and how they feel. And they're like, actually, I am ready to do a little bit of sharing now. So, but it's really important that it's clear before you work with a professional organizer, and that it's open for discussion, and you're allowed to change your mind, because maybe you said in the beginning, yeah, I can share, and then later you think, oh, I don't really want to do this. There should be you need to talk about that and go, I actually want to change my mind.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, all of these things that we've been talking about, Ingrid, are things that you and I have trained people on in the past, right? So when we were at the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers, you were the president, I was the head of website and mentoring. So basically we ran professional organising courses for professional organisers, and these are all of the kinds of things that we used to impress upon them and said these are really important, whether it's a website, whether it's pricing, communication, active listening, all of those kinds of things. And we really stand behind it. You can feel by the way that we're speaking today that we feel quite passionately that people who are representing what we try to do are the best that they can be. And so we ran training courses for, I don't know, we wrote the Starting a Professional Organising Business, we wrote a Developing a Professional Organising Business, and we did that for 5 years. And that's what brought us to here, to working together at the Declutter Hub. And we kind of missed it, didn't we, Ingrid? Yeah. We missed working with other professional organisers. So we thought it was time to do that again.
Yeah. I think it was such a big part of growing ourselves as professional organizers, but also being volunteers for the association, was the training program and hanging out with other people who wanted to be professional organizers or who were professional organizers and wanted to kind of heighten their skill sets. And we loved it so much. But of course, then we got sidetracked with the Declutter Hub, but we realized that we really missed working with professional organizers.
In the same way that you said that being a professional organizer is the favorite thing in the entire world, now you've just said we got sidetracked by running the Declutter. Do you consider that to be sidetracked? I feel like a very conscious decision to start a new business, but maybe you think you just got sidetracked. I don't know.
Oh, we got sidetracked for 4 years, Lesley. But let's don't beat around the bush. We loved training other professional organizers. And of course, we wanted to give full focus to setting up the Declutter Hub, growing the Facebook group, doing the podcast. But all the time in our heads, we were a little bit like, if we ever get a little bit of time back, we want to work again with professional organizers, because we want to keep growing and building the industry. We want professional organizers to be professional and do the best of that they can, because we know the difference it can make in people's lives. And this year we were like, you know what? This should be a priority now. We should now focus some of our time on doing that again, because we really enjoy it so much. And I think it's good for everybody when professional organizers are doing an amazing job and change people's lives.
Absolutely. So we did do that. We did do that. We got sidetracked again, Ingrid.
Yeah.
By writing something called the Prosper Program, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we spent a little bit of time. And so we still, of course, are 100% fully committed to our members as well. But we had a little bit of extra time as we're going through the Declutter Hub and finding a little bit more time and outsourcing things to be able to focus back on professional organisers. And the way we've done that is we brought two things together, haven't we? We've brought the practical side of things, and we know about the practical side of things, and we've taught the practical side of things for many years with our courses in the Declutter Hub and our quick wins. And so all of the knowledge, how will a client feel in various rooms in their house? What sorts of things do you need to be looking at from an emotional perspective? And of course, the process of decluttering and organising a home as well. So we have all that information already available within the membership. And professional organisers, some professional organisers, particularly the ones that are the early stages of their journey, need that either as a learning tool or as a reference tool. We've got loads of professional organisers already in our membership, haven't we, Ingrid? And they love the possibility of going and checking and looking at things and going, how would I do that? I've never really done paperwork before. How would I do that? And they can learn those kind of things. As we've said before, the important skills is the empathy, is the trust, is the active listening. The other stuff can be learned, right? And so we have that side of it. And then we're very passionate. And, it's a bit of a cliche to say passionate, but we are passionate about the business side of it as well, making sure that professional organisers can then present themselves in the right way through the things that they do in their business, through emails, through website, through pricing, through before and after pictures, all of the things that we've spoken about. So our Prosper program that we put together is part of it is the practical and part of it is the business side of it, Ingrid.
Yes, and we're so excited, and it's launching today. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's launching on Friday, the 17th of March, 2023. And we are so excited to push the go live button for our website so you guys can check it out. So if you're considering becoming a professional organizer, or if you're an organizer who's just starting out and thinking, yes, I've got some gaps in my knowledge, I need to know more. Or if you've been in the professional organizing business for a little while, but you're thinking, actually, I could do with some more business skills, and that's where some of my gaps are. This is the perfect program for you. So check it out on declutterhub.com/prosper.
Yes, absolutely. It's very exciting. Prosper. I love to prosper, Ingrid. We love to prosper.
Yes.
So it's important for us to get back to number 10, also very important. So what we've just spoken about is we've spoken about the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers, which both of us feel very passionate about because we spent many years volunteering and working with professional organisers in that business. And so we truly believe that when you're looking for a professional organizer, look to see whether they are part of a professional body, because what that demonstrates for the most part is that a professional development will be in there. They will have gone on training courses to learn how to do things better, and they will be spending time with other professional organizers. It's really about the professional development side of things, isn't it, Ingrid? And what that shows is that somebody is committed to the industry. Within APDO, we have code of ethics, things like that are so, so important. So the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers is the UK-based trade association for people who do the things that we do. And there are others all around the world as well, aren't there, Ingrid?
Yes, you've got NAPO in the US, there is ANPOP in Brazil, there's POC in Canada, there's APOI in Italy, there's an association in France, in the Netherlands, in Japan, South Korea, Australia. It's a global thing. So wherever you are in the world, if you're thinking, actually, I do need a bit of extra help, I do want to hire a professional organizer, see if they are part of that association, because for me, it just gives them lots of extra kudos, Lesley.
Yeah, and of course, Ingrid, this is a very special week for APDO because next week is Spring Clearing Week, and it's an annual week where we focus on all things decluttering and organising. And the theme for this year is all about how decluttering can help your mental health. So there should be loads of things going on around Spring Clearing Week. So do check out them on Instagram at APDO UK. They've got a Facebook group. You can find them in all of the normal places, and there should be some cool stuff coming your way. So do check out APDO.
Yes. And of course, do check out our Prosper program. How exciting, Lesley.
We're very excited. We're
Yes.
very excited.
Yeah.
It's been on our list for a while, hasn't it? And finally
Yeah.
we were like, we need to do this. We need to do this. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, Ingrid, because we have got very excited doing this podcast. And I think the thing is, we know that sometimes using a professional organizer in your home is really, really useful and can really get you over the line. And we would love, honestly, wouldn't we? We've talked all the time about doing world tours and stuff, and going around and visiting people's houses in Australia and all this kind of stuff. People are like, can you come to me? We're like, we'd really like to, because that would be so much fun, wouldn't it? Taking the Clutter Fairy, Organise Your House and the Declutter Hub on the road. But not really going to happen, is it? And so what we want to, it's really important to us that when you choose a professional organizer, you choose the right person. And that's what this podcast was all about.
Yeah.
So whether you are a professional organizer yourself, hopefully you've gleaned some useful information from us, old timers as it was. If you're looking to hire a professional organizer, hopefully we're giving you some hints and tips on what kinds of things to look for. Really, really important. You need to feel good about the person that you're working with. Rule number one. And 10 things, another 10 things podcast done.
I know, it's so nice. So let us know. We would love to know in the comments from you. Let us know. If you go to declutterhub.com/233, you can leave us a comment. So maybe you're a professional organizer and you're like, tell me more about the Prosper program. Or maybe you are somebody who's thinking, actually, I do need to hire a professional organizer. And your podcast has really helped me think through what is important when looking for one. So we would love to hear from you. And then next week, we're kind of continuing with our 10 things, because it's the 10 things that a professional organizer will never buy. So we can't wait to see you there. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.